So my dad worked in printing, and one of the signature sayings that he had was, "Measure twice, cut once." So when I got to meet some of his colleagues, he would share that with me. They would share that with me. Oh, can I start again? I first started writing poetry as a kid, but I can't even name when or how or what got me into it. It's actually just looking back on some pieces of writing or some journals where I realized that I had always been writing, but I don't really have memories of me sitting down writing poetry when I was a kid. I think it's just something that has always just been woven into my life and way of processing and, yeah, making meaning of life. My name is Gloria Eid. I am a poet, a writer, and a life leadership coach, and I live in Vancouver, BC. Poetry means processing for me. It means connection. It means me getting a chance to put my feelings or my emotions or my thoughts down on paper, and as I do that, help make meaning of whatever it is that I'm moving through. And the experience of then sharing that with others, if and when I choose to do that, is hopefully to allow other people to also feel something in themselves too. So it's a form of connection for me. One of the things that I remember most that was actually such a profound moment for me in my journey was when I was applying for university. And at the time, I had really wanted to apply for a university that would require that I would live away from home. And my mom was so not about it. And I had gotten up to the day before the applications were due, and I had submitted applications to just local universities. And I couldn't help it but ask him, there was only a few hours left, and I asked him if he would be willing to give me his credit card behind my mom's back so that I could apply for this university that I really, really wanted to get into. And he did. He slid me his credit card and let me apply for a fourth university, which I ended up being accepted to first, and that I ended up going to in my undergrad as well. And I think like his actions were really that kind of advice for me, is like supporting me in what it was that I was doing and trusting me, even if he wasn't quite sure where I was going or what it was for, just trusting me and supporting that.
Oh my gosh.
So it was around this time I was given a promotion, and there was this period of time where between my current role and my new role, I could have a bit of time off. And so I took a leave for a month, imagining that I would use this time to just decompress, maybe visit my family for a week or so during that month, maybe travel somewhere. And what had happened was, just days into that month off of work, before I would start again, I got a call from my sister that said, "The nurse is saying that it's probably time for you to come back." And so on the phone with my sister, I said, all right, well, I've got a flight booked in a few days to get there. And she said, no, I don't think we'll have that long. When we have things working out for us, it's easy to name what we're grateful for. Even when life feels hard and disorienting, most of the time, things can always be worse. But what about when the worst happens? When someone you love dies? When you are the saddest you've ever been? Where do you find gratitude in that? First, you seriously don't. In the name of love, you won't. First, you wail in despair, by yourself, or in the company of someone who happens to check in on you that dark day. You find nothing else important for a while. You wonder when you will ever feel better again, and that idea seems impossible for a while. You have no concept of time for a while. You do not consider whether it is light or dark outside because it makes no difference for a while. You don't know whether there is any food in the fridge because you are not eating for a while. You do not want your bed because you are not sleeping for a while, and it is where your sadness lies awake with you, and you want to forget it for a while. You don't go looking for pain, but it is all you can see and feel for a while. And so, you need to have a space to scream for as long as your vocal cords will vibrate. You need a bucket for your tears, a hair tie to keep the sweat off your neck, because grief is an exercise of a silent strength. And you will learn that you break more than a sweat. You break your plates. You break the hinges off your cupboards. You break the promises you never could have kept. You break the dawn, wide-eyed and sleep-deprived. You don't go looking for pain, but there's no way you wouldn't find it. When he was really sick and frail, but still mobile, there were just times where he would be so goofy, or he would come out of nowhere with like some burst of energy that made us all laugh. Not one particular thing, but I don't know. There was one time he had put on his leather jacket right before we were leaving out of the house and started pretending he was on a motorbike, and it was just such a funny memory because he was so sick and so thin and tired, and yet there was this character of him still coming out.
2, 3.
Yay! Die, let's go.
The earliest memory of my dad is more like a bunch of memories at once. As a kid, I just remember him being so reliable for our schedules in our days as kids. So it's picking us up from school, driving us home, sitting on the couch at the end of the day, watching his TV, and having my mom in the kitchen and us sort of puttering around the house. The memory that I have of him as a kid is very stable. This experience of him being consistent and reliable, and us always knowing where he was and getting the help from him when we needed. My best friend in grade 9 had told me one day, she's like, I think that you're my best friend. Like, I'd like you to know that. And I remember being like, so like, nope, sorry, that's like too big of a word. Like, that means too much. And it's so interesting how over time, like, I can see that thinking back and looking back to it, it was kind of just, it was fear, you know, it's fear of being seen and let in, and fear of being close. My heart wants to love, but it doesn't know how to love. When I really ask myself, what is the condition of my heart, I feel like my life is a big lie by how I'm performing and my ability to still be there for people. I'm so sad I don't even connect to the depth of my sadness. Grief is everywhere. It's in my mirror staring back at me today, yesterday, and tomorrow. In fact, I avoid mirrors because when I look at myself, I see you. Grief is everywhere, in every father with his adult daughter I see. I drink coffee more, strangely. It may be because you asked for it so often. Grief is in every thought of you, and I think of you every day. Grief is my inability to decide, to even want to decide. Grief keeps me stuck in attention on it and nothing else. So the way that I moved through my, grieving and mourning the death of my dad was very nonlinear. All of the emotions of like anger, sadness, peace, confusion, like they just all appear at once. It's not some kind of stage to get through, and it's not like a box to check off. How could I be so deeply sad? Every bone just feels so heavy. And moments later, even maybe next day, I could be laughing. Like I could be sitting in a restaurant with a friend having a conversation. And that's what I think makes grief, especially in acute grief, like really difficult for people to move through, because we're so conditioned to be productive or to check things off, to say that, okay, this thing has been accomplished, now I can move forward. I don't think grief is like that. Like, at least it wasn't for me, and it isn't for me. And I don't see that being the case for others either. I'd stayed with my family for about a month after my dad's death, and when I was scheduled to come back to Vancouver, I was on the phone with a friend, and she had said, "I've got your spare keys. Here's what I'd love to do. I know you're scheduled to come back at this time. I would love to pick you up from the airport, and before then, if it's okay, I'd love to get into your apartment with a couple of our other friends and just tidy up the place. Like, you've been gone for a while. Maybe we'll clean out the fridge, or just like help make sure that you're coming back to something that feels clean and tidy and fresh for you." And that was such a beautiful gift for me, because it was a form of love and care and consideration. And this thoughtfulness of knowing that it could be really painful and lonely coming back on my own, and then just having a friend on the other side to pick me up and bring me there and really like be with me as I enter into my new life. It's a memory that I'll never forget. There was this beautiful phrase that I came across in those early months. It must have been from an article somewhere, and it said, "In the beginning, you live inside grief until at some point, the grief lives inside of you." Writing was an incredible way for me to process all of those emotions in those early months. Writing has always been a tool for me that I use to help me make sense of myself and my experiences. It felt like I could create something meaningful out of the depths of my grieving. And it felt like I could express the pain so that it would be a little bit lighter in me. Perhaps maybe even there would be some of it that I could leave on the page. And that felt like it was healing every single time. See? Like, if grief is teaching me anything, and if death is teaching me anything, it's that this is the life that we've got. And so if I know that there's a part of me that is still feeling unexpressed or unfulfilled, I gotta take the chance and I gotta move forward into that. So a few months later, I had told my boss that I actually will resign and step back. And that was when I decided that I would go full-time into my life and leadership coaching practice and really be with people as they move through transitions, which had always been the work that I did in just different capacities and contexts over time. Supporting students as they enter university, supporting them as they transition into their internships, maybe outside of school, supporting people as they kind of reinvent their careers, or when they are training to become better leaders or managers in some way. It's like all of these like transitory moments I loved being in with people, and kind of being in the mess and being in the uncertainty and being in that place of I don't know, so that we can get to a this is what I know together. I would tell someone who's going through grief that there is no one way to grieve, and there's no particular time when you should be done grieving. Take all the time that you need and allow yourself to be in it. I think I would be someone who would find it harder to feel things, or actually maybe to even be more scared of my feelings. But writing, and particularly writing poetry, has helped me be way more comfortable with my feelings, the whole breadth of them and range, and ultimately has helped me feel, even in the times where I have been scared of them, especially in those early months after losing my dad, the poetry has made me feel safe to express. Yeah. One of the hopes that I have for the future is that we as a society and a culture learn to end things as well as we are taught to begin things. You know, there's so many rituals of like, you know, the coming of age, the being born into something, the starting of jobs and school and marriage and all of these beginnings. And I think there's this very apparent missing piece to where's the support and the honor and the recognition of the endings? Because in order to begin anything, there needs to be that time of putting something else to rest. And I would love to live in a world where that is honored more, recognized, where systems are created around that, particularly with death and dying, but also any kind of metaphorical letting go of something. We weren't a family that said, "I love you" very much to each other. And so I would love to tell my dad that more and more and more if I could. I love you. Hi, Poppy. It's been a while. I've been at home now for a few days and things are feeling more normal. It's still weird to say you died, though. Been sleeping in your bed, and that room feels like the calmest, quietest place to be. Tomorrow is my birthday. I know you always forget the actual day, but I love the card you picked out for me last year and the message I forced you to write in it. Thank you. I cherish that card and your words and writing so much. It's weird to be happy during this time, knowing you're not around. I turned 30, and to know I won't have you in my life during this new decade makes me sad. Right when I thought we were becoming friends, and I was getting to know you better. You would be a great dad to 30-year-old children. I want to remember your visit to Vancouver and how we rode bikes together along the seawall, and that you visited my campus and got to meet some of my colleagues. I want to remember your sweet voice, and how you called me Glow and Poppy in affection. I want to remember your incredible smile and beautiful teeth, and how you were always so happy to see me and speak with me. I want to forget how painful it was in my heart watching you die. That moment of quiet I had on the toilet, thinking about how surreal this was, feeling my heart tear in shreds. I couldn't imagine I could feel such heartbreak. I want to remember our beautiful last functioning day together. You woke up and wanted to eat, and I fed you sweet potatoes and applesauce. You were so funny about not liking the taste. And I'll always want to remember how you stared at yourself in the mirror for what felt like minutes. It's like you were seeing your whole life pass by in the reflection of looking at yourself in the eye.